Great. Hello, welcome everyone to the fourth call of the Gem implementers. We're here to share and collaborate with our knowledge about the Gem. Hello, everyone. And let's start with our agenda. We're starting usually with saying hi to the new people who are first here, who I pretty much have a feeling that everybody's here is like the people who are usually coming to the calls, but I'm gonna say hi. My name is Kirill. I'm from ChainSafe Go Summer team. We're developing the Gem client in Go. We're also developing the old Polkadot client in Go. Hi everyone, and yeah, say hi.
Anyone? Okay, so I'm Sarab. I work at Colorful Notion, and we have been doing the Jam Duna implementation in Go. Hope to see you all at Lisbon. So I'll be the one from our team going.
Hey everyone.
Nice.
Yeah, I'll go again. I was here last month, but some people might not have been here. I'm Jay. I'm working on an implementation called TRAM, TRAM. It's in Python and Rust. And one of the main focuses is building a PVM implementation that's reusable across projects and languages. So hoping to get some light client adoption there as well. So nice to meet everyone. I'll be in Lisbon next month, and it'll be myself and then someone else from my team as well. So very excited to meet everyone in person.
Great, thank you, Jay. Anyone else want to introduce themselves?
Hello,
Uh,
I'm Bernard.
hey.
I'm from the Beamwolf team, and I'm implementing Jam in Rust. And currently, I'm working on the accumulate host functions. That's all.
Great, thank you, Bernard.
So hi, this is Tianyi. I'm from the team called Space Jam. I'm doing a Rust implementation as well. Yes. So I'm currently waiting for I'm currently working on the light client because I have finished all the test vectors, but just stuck in refactoring my code and looking for the next set of test vectors. Nice to meet you. Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Thank you. Alrighty. I guess we all say hi who wanted to. Then we probably move to the progress update. Somebody wants to. So for my team, I don't have Jimmy here, but Karan, maybe you also want to say hi and a little bit share on the updates if you're aware of them.
Yeah, sure. Sorry, just I have a bit of background noise here, but hi, I'm Karan. I'm from ChainSafe, and I'm working on the Go implementation of Jam. And for progress update, currently I'm working on the host calls. I'm not sure what else to. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
But I like to share that I was previously working for ChainSafe as well. Maybe in 2021 or 2022, I was in the Rust team.
Oh, really?
Yes.
For a Filecoin, no? Is it okay? Tiani, you disappeared.
Yeah, I remember your profile. Yes.
Cool. Right. Anyone else wanna share the update? Anything interesting for months?
From Jam Duna, we got to 6.4 and published our sort of test vectors so that other people could try to come to alignment. I guess we can talk about that as a topic. We have been building sort of proof of concept block explorer and some more elaborate jam services a little bit, like trying to use Polkatool to validate Ethereum. So we're creating some more challenges while we're waiting for, I don't know, 0.7 or 6.5.
Can you talk about this? Polkatool to validate Ethereum? What is that?
I think one of our guys is probably asking Jan some questions of how to do some more challenging compilations with toolchain. But yeah, we've done a lot of the toy cases with Fibonacci and it's not a toy case, but like little tiny bootstrap services which you can all take a look at. William on our team built a demonstration of the game of life. So those are all like really tiny programs that are like at most 100 or 200 lines old. One of them is Fibonacci, I guess, which powers the 6.4 data set, which a lot of us tried coming to alignment on, and it basically runs through a lot of the accumulate host function operations. If you wanted to try to do refine as well, it also, if you got into the refining business, which I hope a lot of you will try along with us, it also covers the other guys in Boke, Peak, Boke, Expunge, and all that kind of on the refine side. So we hope that with 0.7 we get a lot more refiners as well as people coming to alignment on accumulation. So with the Ethereum effort, we're just getting started. It's just like, can you validate an Ethereum block? And that challenges us to do much more fancy and complicated stuff, which really demands that we get in the middle of what we hope to learn from Jan next month, which is the recompilation type processes, because we really do need the 50x type speed up to take those challenges seriously.
So you're using the Polkadot SDK, right? The one in the Rust.
Not the Parity SDK, but the Jan, whatever Jan provided with the Polkatool. Just for historical reasons, we started with that, and then it worked well, and it was easy to understand really tiny programs without much overhead, meaning a couple hundred bytes at most. Whereas the Parity Rust SDK generated a lot of extra overhead, which was, just a lot of extra stuff, and I didn't want to have the test vectors populated with 30K of FAT or something like that. Maybe it's smaller now. Yeah. So they both come from Polkatool. It's just a question of how much extra overhead there is, I guess. Is it just smaller now, Jan? I don't know.
What is smaller?
I mean, the kind of thing that the Parity Rust SDK generates. We haven't tried it recently. So are there other groups using the Parity SDK now?
Probably, I don't know. But we might, right now we don't really optimize for size. So, we might optimize it further later. Right now, it's not a priority.
Got it. Are there other groups doing refining? I think that's what we're wondering about, how we could come to alignment on the refine side of things.
We're trying to do this in Go, but we haven't get yet there. But generally, the refine is basically the part where you need to. So this is the roll up part, if to speak about Ethereum, right? Is the idea where you need to sequence all the transactions from the Ethereum side. If you want to validate the Ethereum, when you was talking about that you try to validate Ethereum block.
Yeah, you can basically put together a work package with a block and its transactions, and come back with start with state witnesses and end up with yes, this block is valid.
I'm just now thinking about how is the native execution of the Ethereum block in order to verify it will be happening on Jam. You need to have an EVM there, And now I'm remembering about this Palette Revive, which is Parity working on, which is basically the biggest part of it is a compilation, is a compiler from Solidity to PVM. And I'm now thinking about how this can possibly work all together.
That's a completely different route. Yeah, you need to start, you have to start with Solidity and to get into PVM. So they're not really that's a completely different approach to connecting the dots. So.
No, I was thinking of just running Ethereum as a service. That's the great dream, huh? Isn't it? All right, so I guess if there's no one updates here, I guess we can move to our GemDAO announce, right? Questions for people. So I will start quickly. Is that the GemDAO was now taking part in a decentralized voices in the cohort number 4. We've been delegated our dots, and we are already actively started voting. So we set up our Discord channel. I'm gonna share it here. Again, everybody who is developing Gem, the teams are free to join. Just come and say hi and let me know, and we will add you to the Discord group, and we will add you to all the forums and channels. So we're using the Chaos DAO bot in order to vote. Yeah, we're looking forward to this. Let me share the link.
I was worried that we wouldn't be able to have a nice forum, but thank you so much for setting it up, Carol. That was, I don't know, it must have taken a lot of time, but we appreciate the Chaos DAO work that went into setting this up. But we now have a very functional referendum system. So I think we got basically all in a very short time, in about a period of like 3 or 4 days. We went from just a couple of us to 15. Maybe going on 16 teams who all submitted a extrinsic and added their declarations basically on chain and in the docs.jamchain repo. So that was wonderful to see come together quickly. And now all those people are at least one of those one representative from each team is in a team representative group, and then all the team members. So if you don't know what we're talking about, your team lead hasn't told you yet, you should be able to join join the DAO various rooms, and all that has to happen is Kirill or me or somebody else who has on your team can add the representative sort of powers, and then you can participate in the forums. Right now, there's this read-write kind of property question, which I was wondering about whether, Kirill, you can tell us about. But yes, we've already had 1 or 2 reps with like 6 or 7 of the team leads vote, and because of the delegation that just happened yesterday, we were able to submit our first vote as the Jam implementer DAO based on those numbers, and then there's like 1 nay, the I'd like to please nay my proposal. So that was the first thing that actually got the 6 million dot that the Web3 Foundation, or around 1 million times 6 with a 6x conviction with 6 million dot in voting power that got registered in the last day. So we are ready to go as and we hope we can talk through the processes about how to do this well. It can be really fabulous if we just coordinate ourselves a little bit.
Very interesting, Surab, because I was wondering about this, because it's just how much dot is delegated to us now, this in this DA.
So just to review the big picture, the Web3 Foundation has been doing this decentralized voices cohort program for like I think a year and some months now. So for between the period of like yesterday, April 14th to like August 15th or something like that, for a period of 4 months, we, the Jam Implementers DAO, which is at present 15 or so teams with their various leads, have 1 million DOT of 6 million. Let's see, 6 million DOT. Wait, hold on a second. Yeah, 6 million DOT. Each of the decentralized voices have 1 million DOT, but because of the 6x, and this is a concept you have to sort of read up on, 6x conviction, you get 6 million DOT in voting power. So all those 6 decentralized voices together have 36 million DOT in voting power, and that is a serious number collectively. If there's some way
because my question is actually also, so what is the total voting power, let's say, of everybody in this open governance?
I mean,
somebody else
there are
wanna
like 7% of all the tokens are usually like somewhat participating in the open gov, as far as I remember the statistics. I can tell you the number exactly, but you can see the proposals usually with like 20 to 50 million dots. So the biggest one was when there was a parallel finance hack. It was like total of 107 million dots participated in the voting. Something like that.
So that's definitely a significant chunk, right?
It is, yes. It is
Okay.
for the most of the like referendums, which are not, as a parallel finance hack, the 6 million dots is a lot.
I have another question, because let's say some people really don't like this governance, and let's say some people really don't want to get involved. Let's say I have the feeling, let's say, Saurabh, you're already longer in this governance game. Yeah. But I'm just curious, let's say, so what is there a possibility this could backfire to us for some reason? Being participating in the governance?
It is a public process, and it is not. I don't think it's that. If you really want to be private and anonymous, it's a little bit difficult in an open gov setting. People want to. The point of having a voice is that you want to be heard. We did have an early poll where we asked the team leads to whether we should keep our comments and individual member votes public or private, and in a 5 versus 2, 7 of the 15, everyone basically, the majority, meaning 5 of the members said yes, we want to keep our votes and comments private, and that's pretty much why you see in the Discord channels this kind of structure, and specifically only one team lead would vote for the team, so you have like up to 15 votes that are possible, and if we're all good about keeping that these comments and votes private, which is part of what we'd like to ratify in the code of conduct, then there isn't much to attack. It's like, oh, you voted against me. So there's a lot of like, you voted against me. Why did you do that? So that's the most common situation in my experience. Only having done this for a year or so, that people take it personally or to take great offense, but it is part of democracy to make your voice known. So I think we have some degree of like an anonymity as a group, but the expectation is that when we take all those individual comments and votes and could participate as a group, we will have an aggregated summary, like this many of us, like 5 of us voted for aye, 2 of us voted nay, and here are the comments across those 7 members or 8 members or 15 members, however many that we have as participants, and that we come up with a summary of all those comments, kind of anonymized, and that sort of allows us to speak our mind. So that's kind of like one layer of like, yes, this is not going to backfire for any individual member, but if you do participate with us in AAG, that's super public. It's a very wide. It is the standard for Polkadot participation in terms of proposers and decentralized voices. And some of us, or all of us, are welcome, to participate in that. That's a very it's the forum right now. And then you can't you can say the DAO did, just collectively we decided this, and we're going to start trying to learn how to do that. and you're all welcome to participate. And you will have to show your face there in most cases, and your voice, and literally talk. That's the primary public mechanism. Many other decentralized voices have set up very active Twitter accounts. We haven't opted to do that yet. We could decide to do that collectively, but it needs a leader to take on that responsibility. In those contexts, you can't really keep your private options. There's also the public comments, where you can also be super public individually, and many other DAOs have delegations where they say, okay, I'm going to delegate to my DAO. So Chaos DAO and Kus DAO and Permanence DAO, many other decentralized voices, they're very active in soliciting new active delegates, and we could, and I think we ought to, but it's kind of up to us to decide how to do this, solicit Jam, other kinds of Jam participants, not just engineers who are implementing Jam, but also other kinds of builders, service builders, core time buyers, tool builders, and others. But yeah, it is a concern, and it is not for everybody. So, but I didn't want to have us be afraid of having at least some discussion in the Discord and for that process. And it's up to you whether you actually want to put your full voice in a public way.
Thank you very much for the explanation. Okay, makes sense. So it's kind of a so we're like kind of ring signature, but then in a DAO form, a little bit. Yeah.
It's not a ring signature; it's just a private forum, yeah. But
yeah, that's the joke.
And it also, the decentralized voices tend to be more inclusive for different peoples, because before that, for a year that decentralized voices existed, right? They definitely made a really big deal in the Polkadot OpenGov. But the problem there is now there are like two big central of the gravitation around all the big DAOs like Chaos DAO and Saxenberg and all other. So this decision in the current cohort is they basically give it to the new teams. I mean, I kind of understand your comment about is that our votes might bring some problems to us as an implementers, but in the end of the day, I would see this rather not as our problem, but as an inherited problem of the ecosystem that would be interesting to research and resolve in general. So this is part of a democracy, right? Everybody has their own opinion, and as far as we are honest about what we want to vote for, everything should be okay.
So did I understand correctly, Saurabh, that people can also kind of delegate even more to us as a DA?
So yes, we haven't been soliciting this actively the way other DAOs have, and it's a stylistic judgment about whether this is something we want to do. I've only seen this as practice for next year, but that's something.
Because it would be interesting, because if so, that multiplier also happens on the delegated votes to us.
So the Web3 Foundation is the only delegate as of now. But if all of us, had a couple 100,000 DOT or a couple million DOT, we could say, hey, let's build not 6 million DOT in voting power, but an even larger number. Maybe next year we could as we hopefully pass some milestones formally that we actually say, oh, okay, since our Jam prize DOT is locked, you could say, well, and can we delegate the locked DOT to the Jam implementer DAO or Jam DAO, and I think the answer was yes. And therefore, while it's in this locked form, we could, without a Web3 Foundation delegation, have significant voice without the Decentralized Voices program. So I think it's a super powerful idea.
Yeah, definitely. But so the multiplier also then applies. So if you have, for example, $10 million on there, then actually that will go times 6.
Multiplier is not related to the delegation per se. It's like when you are doing your vote, you're able to select this multiplier. It's called conviction rate. It basically defines for how long your token, like dots, will be locked in the system. So you still are able to vote on the other proposals, or you still are able to have them staked. It's just rather, they will be locked for a little bit longer period, so you won't be able to like move them to another account, for example. I
Okay,
can give you
so
here
this-
quickly the idea.
So this conviction rate is actually anybody can do that. It's not specifically for the decentralized voices.
Right. Yeah. So
Okay,
if we
yeah,
will
okay.
have all the idea was always that the gem teams, right? We're gonna have the milestone prizes, and the only 25% of them will be released right in the beginning, right? The 75% are vested over the 2 years, but they are like only held, but you can still use them to delegate, vote, or stake them, as far as I understand.
Yeah, I understood.
So
Yeah.
like 10 teams is a million dots with the, like, if we want to lock them for 32 weeks, and we probably want to, because they still, vested for 2 years. So, I mean, we can easily use the X6 conviction rate. It gives us like 6 million dots of voting power right away.
It's interesting, yeah, but I'm also curious how many proposals we're gonna get, because I already saw like 4, right, in the Discord. That's so interesting.
Yeah, I think what happened is between 3 and 4, the proposal counts went down because everyone who proposes knows that there's so much voting power in the DVs. So now I think you'll see a big acceleration with maybe a couple dozen, but it'll be on the average a couple dozen per month. At the end of the day, when you look at what happened in the previous cohorts, they did about 100 refs or so. In the cohort 3, and I don't see why cohort 4 would be any different. So I think this question of how much time members should spend, I don't think it's necessary to see it as a chore, but instead as an opportunity for participating in democracy. So yeah, I don't know what you have in mind.
Okay. Do we have any other questions about DAO?
Do you want to give a tour of the Discord rooms as far as where to participate and how?
Yeah, I did share the link for a Discord. Ideally, you go there and say hi. So let me also share my DMs. Give me a second.
I think the question I was wrestling with was like, when proposers come and try to talk to us, where do we direct them? And I think we ended up with a collective answer of send everybody to the public room. Is that the answer, or is there a better approach for us to do things?
I'm sorry.
So the question is, we have a lot of proposers that are coming in, and we need to figure out a strategy of like, okay, let's have everybody who wants to propose all show up and do X in a certain place. I think almost all the rooms, you set up, Kirill. What should be the algorithm what we have to follow for proposers coming to us?
That's a nice question, right? We're still in the process. We need to set up some rules. Definitely the first is like the rules how the new teams should join. There's only 15 of them. And the second rule is basically about the proposals. So now there is this public room where they come and they basically, post their referenda. But yeah, we need to define the rules more strictly. I don't have an answer for this right now. We're also going to have an open office hours, right? Every week.
Yeah, okay. So by default, I think there is a public room and a general room.
Yes.
I think we'll just have, well, until we have a bigger structure, I think we'll just keep it to all proposers will show up in the public room and they can pitch their proposals to, and then all the team reps, as well as the DAO participants will be able to see what happens in the public room. And the office hours part of things, we'll let everybody in Discord know how to jump into the middle of office hours. We're just figuring out the emails and calendaring processes right now, I think. Is that the way?
Yeah, that's right.
Does anybody want to participate in our office hours? I didn't want it to be just me and Carol. Who wants to participate in office hours and hear pitch proposals?
Yeah, I volunteer to participate as well.
Anyone else? We have to, I mean, there's a lot of, we can also participate with comments alone and do a lot that way. I think what's interesting about us as a group is that we have a lot of, because we're engineers and product guys, we have a lot of ideas about how to do things different and better, and it's just in our nature as engineers. And I suspect that when you look at some of the engineering or product focused proposals, there will be a lot of ideas. And so I think it's a really cool way to work with other product people, hopefully in an increasingly jam-centric way. So I think it can be a very exciting opportunity.
I would be interesting to join, but let's say, so office hours means what? Let's say it's 1 hour and everybody just pitches to us. Is that a little bit thing? And then we research it, or do we need to research and then they pitch us? And how does it exactly work in short? How does it work? The office hours?
I mean, we get to make up what we want. I think what other DAOs have done, and I'm not really sure because I haven't participated in their exact process, is they set up a calendar for proposers to come in, and it's kind of like a Calendly, you know, just pick a time, and then we have no idea what'll happen, but what are they going to, they're going to basically pitch their proposal, and you can give them 20 or 30 minutes or something like that over say a 60 or 90 minute period. So that means you can have quality discussion or the quality pitching, and then ask them questions. And I think in the most cases, it's a convincing process or a question and answer process, or like a refinement of answering, refinement and of answered questions, a bit beyond what people tend to do in AAG, which is only like 5 or 10 minutes at most. Maybe it's 8 minutes or something right now, and that enables a lot more back and forth. It wouldn't be to have highest quality kind of meaningful 20 minutes. It would be probably you guys as members voted nay, and the proposer is like, no, you don't understand. Here's what here's what we're actually doing. Here's a demonstration, and then it's more of a convincing process. But it can also be a back and forth where you say, where you ask them, like, could you explain a certain aspect of their product or service, or what they're planning to do at some event or something, and it may have a very business type quality, well beyond our engineering and product mindset. So we can practice it, and if you want, you can ask for it and say, when you have these comments, oh, it would be great if they had a discussion with us, and if we post that, most of these proposals have a 28 day kind of time period, then we can invite them in our very first comment. Hey, you want to pitch your $5 million proposal or whatever to do to sponsor the Olympics or something? Then the invitation process can result in a call where they explain how exactly their Olympic-sized proposal would actually work, if it's business-like, or in an engineering kind of way, how certain features of Poca identity or something could be refined a little bit further.
Okay, I would be interested in it. I will join if it is needed. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah,
Awesome.
I think I'd like to join as well.
Yes, I will
I
be.
like voting now.
I will be
Okay.
there too.
Cool. I mean, we haven't seen a lot of jam proposals, and it is exciting to steer the Polkadot world in a jam centric way. And I think over the next year we should see a lot of cool activity. How could we not? And so how could we also not be leading the knowledge base and how things can be made even better.
I agree with that part, definitely, yeah. Especially at that point in time.
All right. So generally, yeah, if you're a team of Gem implementers and you are not part of a Gem DAO yet, please go to the Discord link. There in the general channel, just let us know that you're a Gem team you want to join, and we will reach you out in the direct messages. There's the current way how to edit. There are currently 15 teams, right, Surab, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, I can just explain a little bit further if I know how to share my screen here. Do I have that power? Yes, I do. Why don't I just go through it real fast? So this is what happened. The 15 or so members, there'll be up to 15, I know, whatever you see here, submitted a extrinsic with this address, and that's kind of like a formal declaration on chain. If you're not here, and you're not a member yet, you should meet some pretty trivial membership requirements. There is being there's at the very least, you have to be registered as a Jam client on a repo that everybody else. So this is kind of like a very simple test. So if you can't just put 100 Jam implementer teams all together, all at once here, that you and your team should follow this code of conduct. This is just a draft right now, and we can just talk about it. When you do submit your extrinsic with your address, it is just submit it with that specific address. It should be a single, not a multi-sig or whatever type address with a simple remark. You can look at these extrinsics to see an example. It's really easy. Just replace your team name and put this in that without, I guess, brackets. And then you can submit a PR and add your info to this list of YAML content, just like 3 things that basically populates this table above. And that's basically it. So then I think you can ask Kirill or me or Daniel or some other guys who have similar admin powers maybe to get added to that Discord channel with the DAO, and ideally you nominate one person on your team to be a team lead, and that's basically the essential basic aspect. You can see there's 15 teams that out of the maybe there's like 3 dozen or so that you see here, and there's a key detail of a code of conduct, which I think we should expect not only yourself as a team lead if you're the team lead, but all your team members to follow. It's basically like the other DAO that we modeled this after, Permanence DAO, and you can basically, most of it's just common sense, but there is a couple of things that are a little bit different. You should be aware of your DAO status. There is a don't share type, don't share private information and disclose your conflict of interest. So please take a look. I've asked for a kind of a ratification of this code of conduct, and we didn't get to quorum yet. It's quorum yet. We got like 5 out of 5, but it was unanimous. But we formally have not ratified it yet. So I ask that if you see anything that deserves some improvement, please take a look and make whatever suggestions you have so that we can formally ratify it. And I guess one of the topics on the forums is, shall we ratify it? The last time I conducted a poll, I only had like 2 or 3 days for everyone to get to their quorum, but we didn't get it yet. So hopefully that'll happen naturally. But yeah, please take it seriously, and also make sure your whole team knows about it, since your whole team, as they get these tags, will be expected to follow that same code of conduct. There is this also a similar kind of ratification process. It's not so very well thought out necessarily, but it's what I thought was reasonable given what happened. There has to be some process by which these ayes and nays and I guess it refuses get aggregated to cause a specific vote to happen, this is an OpenGov specific property. There are 7 tracks which the Web3 Foundation has delegated to the JAM Implementers DAO. And at present, the way this is written, and you guys can suggest some changes, it's just like a starting idea. At present, depending on what the track is, we're going to need a certain number of members, like between 3 and 7 or 8, as a function of the track to actually register a yes or an I or an A or a abstain on chain. And pretty much it's majority rules. And if it happens to be the last 2, the biggest tracks, then we're going to need 60%. If you guys want alternates to these numbers, please suggest them. I wanted it to be, it's kind of obvious what happened. For the small track, just a few of us would be sufficient. As you have the big tracks, these are like the million dot sized proposal, or 100,000 dot to million dot size proposals. We pretty much need about half of us, is the way these guys are working. And I was pretty happy to see that we already have many refs that have 5 or 5 and maybe 6 or 7, but we do need to get to this number for the Web3 Foundation to sort of feel like we have an active membership. So please, let's get to that kind of number. As an aggregate, we're expected to do 50% of refs, meaning if there are 200 refs in our 4-month period, then we should for all these tracks get to at least 50% of them. But that's really like that should be a trivial bar to pass, in the sense that almost all the other DAOs get to 90% or more participation. So we should have no issue on that. But if we do have issues getting to 6 or 7 because we're not live or we're busy doing JAM implementation, then we may need as a group to lower these numbers. So let's see what happens. It does require not just 1 guy or 2 guys. It requires a serious number for the big things that really drive Polkadot forward. That's what I want to say about it. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? It should be it's probably very new to if you've never seen this before, like what are all these tracks? It'll take a little while for you to learn all of them. And yeah, I think it's really important for us as future major DOT holders to figure out how the system works. And I'm sure you'll enjoy the process of this beautiful system that exists.
Yeah, I guess generally don't try to ask questions. We're super open to help you. And yeah, it is a little bit complicated in the beginning to understand everything. Oh, I see Emil joining. Hi, Emil. So yeah, it could be a little bit complex to understand the OpenGov from the very beginning, so please ask questions. I'll be super happy to answer them in the Discord or right now. Yeah, don't need to be right now.
Does anybody have some suggestions on the code of conduct or voting track changes that they would like to see right away that we've not heard of yet? Any suggestions if you're all taking a look at it?
I guess we rather discuss this asynchronously, right? So yeah, we have this administrative forum there. So this is more for the proposals, and yeah, definitely gonna have some more updates. Cool. Maybe if there are any more last questions about the DAO, if not, we can move forward. Cool. So our next topic is kind of very important. It is the compliance with the GEM rules, with our community test vectors and our community testnet and the implementers calls. Last week, right, there was a discussion. Actually, Emil raised this question with the Kevin, if I'm not mistaken, right? About us having these testnet test vectors and the meetup in Lisbon. and how much this correlates with the gem rules regarding the fact that everything should be transparent and we should report on every communication happening between the teams. So for that reason, all of our calls are being recorded. All of our channels are open. Everybody's free to join. Like the DAO definitely is like closed when it comes to the voting, but there is nothing related to the gem implementation is happening there. It's only the votes. This is the important statement. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting again, because let's say, for example, we or a subgroup has some conversation about like deeply understanding the grade paper, right? So we would, for example, make a series on YouTube where we discuss the grade paper, why the design is like it is, how it works, right? And anybody that participates gets a deep understanding of what it is we're building. Would this be against the rules?
That's an interesting question. I guess as far as everything open, right, and public, it should be all right. As far as that everyone knew about it and were able to join.
It's also not implementation details, right? It's just like the paper is fully, everybody has access to it. Discussing a public document, I don't know, doesn't feel like it should be in violation of the rules, regardless of if it is or not.
Yeah, because it's because Gavin,
It feels silly.
So clean room implementation could also mean like, independent understanding, which leads to decentralized understanding of the concepts, right? Which then are implemented. And if you don't do that, so imagine we all talk about this, right? And we all get kind of a wrong understanding of, let's say, serialization, right? Now everybody implements serialization in this new wrong understanding, right? So you could argue that's already going against the decentralization, or against the principle, right? So it's kind of a gray area a little bit, So I agree actually. It's tricky. It's tricky.
Again, is the problem specifically about the gem price, right? Because in the end of the day, you might develop your gem client and never pretend to get a gem price. You just became a gem validator node by your team. And that's a problem where the gem price rules are basically, dictated by the community or the person or the company who created those rules, who created this price. So it's more like a private opinion. And we should follow it, unfortunately. But I wanted to say what is I understand. What is not I understand, but what is the fact is that if we will take a look at the yellow paper of the Ethereum, and the gray paper is supposed to have pretty much the same idea, right? That there is an open standard, everybody develops according to it. So the fact is that by the time that the first Ethereum clients hit the testnet, they were already very, very different from what yellow paper told. So the yellow paper and gray paper, by its nature, they are covering only the the main state transition functions. They covering the PVM, but this is at the very most is like 10% of the code, no more. When it will come to the future updates, will be the gray paper evolved in became a gray paper 2.0 or things like that, because eventually yellow paper was you can think about it as a Genesis block. But then all the developments, they were done within the teams, collaborating between each other and discussing the things. That's why I believe that to make gem sustainable, we can't rely only on the gray paper. Gray paper will become stale one day. And I actually honestly believe that it will become stale pretty soon after the version number 1, after we hit a testnet. Because you can't just keep updating all the necessary changes there, right? There definitely will be changes to the protocol. There will be new ideas, new maybe codecs, maybe there will be new algorithms for the erasure coding. Who knows what's new there will be else as well. So I honestly believe that the more we collaborate, the better. And the rules about the gem price is more as a personal opinion of collectives who provides the gem price.
It's an interesting point you're making, especially when you're referencing Ethereum, right? Because I don't know exactly how Ethereum came to be, but I think, let's say, there was one major client, right? And all the new
No,
clients.
that's the idea that the yellow paper actually was written by the Gavin Wood as well.
I know. Yeah,
Yes,
exactly.
and
But
there were
was
2 clients, 3 clients. There were Go client there were like Golang client, Python client, and Rust client. Like the
and
parity.
these 3 were developed in the same principle as Gem. Let's say they were also developed independently and started the same. So, or was the network run by one? Let's say was more dominated by one client.
I can't tell you. Like initially, it was dominated by the parity client, as far as I remember correctly.
Yeah, because then I think you're right? Because then, let's say, the coordination happens by the dominant client, and all the other clients start adapting to the dominant client, right?
Yes.
So now it's interesting because what's going to happen with Jam. Let's say how many different clients are going to be chosen in the end, right? And if that is actually equal, then it's a different kind of coordination mechanism happening, right? Instead of just following one client.
But that's the idea, right? It's not about who've been selected. The idea about the decentralized network is that it's permissionless. You don't have to be selected by someone to become a validator. You just follow
but
the
the
protocol.
validators will but the validators will select or will choose some client, right? They will either go for a Rust client or a Go client, or exactly.
And that's the reason why I'm telling that the parity client was dominant first. It was written in Rust. It was pretty performant. Right, as always, we can put a little bit of like a network and marketing effect into it. But then eventually, when the team behind it stopped working on it, other clients became more dominant. And now we see completely different ecosystem in Ethereum, right? All the old clients are not there. There is no Python anymore. There is no parity client anymore. There is a Red, there is a Go Ethereum, there is a Prism, and many others. Moreover, it's like forked and it's a proof of stake. So yellow paper not applicable anymore.
No, definitely. But let's say what I want to say is that the later clients, they will adapt to, let's say, the dominant client, right? So that's a different kind of coordination mechanism as if you start already with a diverse network, if that happens with Jam, right? But that's the point I wanted to make. It's different, a little bit different.
I wouldn't say so. Saurabh, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I mean, I guess you guys are thinking long-term thoughts, which is really awesome, and I think it's really important that we figure out 2 years from now, this is what the long-term game is. That's really awesome. I think most of us are like deathly afraid that we are going to violate something in some rule, and then we'll be disqualified. So we just need to figure out how to coordinate ourselves in the very, very local term, like this spring, the summer, at the Lisbon event, to meet the M1 and M2 milestones, or the ML and the other variations of them. And in that sense, the local issue of importing blocks and authoring blocks, we're not. I think that those are really easy to come to alignment on, and I don't really see the issue with of having everything done in GitHub. I think at least the 5 or 6 of us that did 90% of those using type things, we did everything in public, and so everybody can see them. It's all visible, and if other teams also do the same kind of publishing of the M1 and M2 goals, which are just, here are our blocks, here are can you import them and can you author them? Those are really local problems, and I don't see and you're like, oh, I think the issue that you raised, boy, is supposing is really the central issue that we're faced in the local situation, which is if we all misinterpret something in the same way, does that disqualify us? I think the answer is no. If you disclose that, hey, you know, we all arrived at this various mind virus because, and we all, you know, did this in public. The public record is there in GitHub, and we all are talking not in terms of code implementation issues. We all have been, in almost all cases that I can see, have been referencing gray paper equations and so whatever sections to describe the details of. So for the M1 and M2 goals, I think we're very clear on what to do. And if there's a debate on that, I think you basically argue with the judge, which is mostly Gav as far as I know, that, you know, this is something that we did in public. Everything was always available 100% of the time. And as long as you disclose that in your milestone submissions, you will be okay. If anybody believes something to the contrary, I'd love to know what that is, so that we make sure that we are compliant and we don't jeopardize other teams through whatever it is that we are doing. And I think it's important that we all honor each other's risk profiles and as we try to do these kinds of things. Does anybody have an issue with what has happened in the immediate past that we can all see publicly right now? I think Emil.
I personally don't, you know, because let's say I agree with what you're saying, and so if we run into some kind of inconsistencies, right, then we go to the gray paper and start looking deeper to the gray paper, and then figuring out what the inconsistencies are, and from there actually we adapt our implementation, right? And let's say, and then you know, say everybody, you know, finds his own way in that, right? So it's not really like you're gaining any shared understanding of over the bigger picture, or let's say the deeper concepts, right? So I don't see this as any threat to the prize, in my interpretation, right? But okay, that's me. I don't know how everybody else thinks about it.
I guess if anybody had any issues with what we did on the GitHub, GitHub repo on our repo, we'd love to hear how we can improve it so that we don't threaten anyone else's Jam Prize eligibility as well as our own. I don't know whether Emil, who you can speak to how something you saw might have raised some concerns. Is he here still? Emil, are you still with us?
I see there is a right from Ivan.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
Yeah, hi guys.
Hey, Ivan.
So, I mean, my thoughts on the longevity of the gray paper. So, I think that, I mean, at least what Gav was saying in the past is that the whole point of the gray paper is to not make the same mistake that I did with Polkadot. So that actually the protocol is in the code. So the protocol should be in a piece of paper that everybody can reference and build a client from. So I mean, that's the goal. And I think that I hope that the gray paper won't be, you know, as soon as it becomes version 1 is going to become obsolete, because then the whole point of this is actually then moot. So from that point of view, I think what Gav is maybe afraid of, that, you know, the gray paper should be the source of truth and be the thing that the clients reference, and not having, you know, group discussions. Oh, sorry, I didn't put my camera. Have group discussions and then come to some local understanding that then maybe is going to, you know, move away from this vision of having the gray paper as the source of truth. I mean, this is the main fear of Gav, I think. But yeah, that's all.
I mean, that's definitely the right assumption, right? Because for Polkadot, there is no de facto standard and there is no de facto specification that you can refer to if you want to develop a client.
Well, and the thing is, there is, right? It's just not very
The code,
useful
right?
at all.
The
Yeah.
code is the
Yeah, like there
documentation.
is a spec that's out there, but it's behind. I don't look at it at all as a Polkadot developer.
But again, that's what I was trying to say is that in terms of code, the gray paper might cover at most like 10% of it. Like at the total code that will be written there. Because we shouldn't forget that the networking is not part of a gray paper. The grant PI is not part of it. So like the biggest chunk of the current Polkadot implementation, like the elves, I mean, it is part of a gray paper to a big extent, but the idea is that when you're going to connect all this like different state transition function, which is basically elves and the grant PI and things like that, right? You would need to build an abstraction how you're going to connect them in all the same networking interface. This is in the current Polkadot implementation is around, I don't know, like maybe 50% of the code, honestly. Because the way how this all gonna be concurrently working with each other, because your node is not synchronous. It's not like that when the block from the server is gonna come to your gem validator, you're gonna, proceed it like sequentially from all the like state transition functions. You're, for example, currently you're doing like the collator, you're doing collation from one block, but in the same time, you're already doing maybe disputes for a block that happened like 20 seconds ago, and so on and so forth. So, and this is a huge part of the logic, which is not described by the gray paper, and it's not gonna be because it's not the idea of the gray paper, right? And that's where we still would have to collaborate, and that's still where this huge portion of misunderstanding might appear, and that's why we need this proper collaboration between the teams. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there's a test net. The networking part is not in the gray paper, and a lot of us have having come to alignment on being able to import each other's blocks or author blocks that other people can import. I think we're ready to do the other 50% that are not in the that's not in the gray paper, and in that sense, we at least we're eager to make sure that we can talk with Quick and get our C whatever 128, 131 and so on be compliant with each other. It is the other half that is the Jam SNP or Jam NP, whatever you want to call it, is actually quite complete. So I've been really quite amazed that that all of us have been able to get to the point that we have for both sides, the gray paper on the accumulate side, import blocks process, and at least as I can tell, because we've implemented most of the Jam NP, that it is complete. And mostly what we need to figure out is how we can check that our implementations are compatible on the gray paper side and on the other side, and all whatever's in between, the glue of managing concurrencies and locks or whatever engineering we have to do. Those things are not, those things are just normal software engineering, distributed systems concerns. And I guess I don't have this. It's not going to last very long type fear. And instead, we just have the practical question of how do we figure out how to get our systems to talk to each other and sort of work together in a practical way, where we just, like in Lisbon, we just say, hey, let's get our you operate these 3 nodes in a 6 node tiny test node. We'll operate 3. Let's do some the same kinds of things we had done independently, but focusing on the networking and Jam NP nitty gritty part. I think Gab basically said, yeah, you can do that together at the various meetups, public ones like the one in Lisbon in 2 or 3 weeks. But the question that I think remained for us, and we need a sort of judge level response, is how we can do a little bit of stuff outside that and be true to the Jam rules. That is the major question. I don't know if that we're going to be able to answer that ourselves, but I think we need an answer to that soon, and we could make that a serious topic at Lisbon. That would be my recommendation, that we sort of end the Lisbon meetup with clarity on this question, because we're not likely to figure it out amongst ourselves alone. That's just how I would see it. Is that reasonable, or do you guys see differently?
Ivan, go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. But as soon as M1 comes out or gets opened, they will need a way how to test our nodes, and I mean they will have to define some kind of interface and how we're going to do that. So and then for us to use it to independently pairwise compare, I mean, I don't know. It's a bit of as you said, Kirill, this 50% that's not in the gray paper. Should this be, should we have like a group decision on how it should be implemented? I mean, is it then not like, or should it be every team should, invent and figure this by themselves out, so that it's not so that we really have 15 independent implementations where if some bug creeps in, then it's not 15, because we all had because this is also one of the goals that the GAP wants to achieve, that if there is a bug, it's not all 15 nodes that are then vulnerable or whatever, but just maybe one.
Sorry, there was a boy. Did you raise a hand or you put it down already?
No, I put it down again. Yeah. Thanks. Yeah.
Okay, then it's me. So I mean, I guess generally the idea is that the fellowship, right, to decide. That's the one of the parts of the gem prize, is that people will be assigned the level 3 of the fellowship, at least one person from the team. And so that's usually the collectives that makes the decision about the protocol, how it's gonna evolve in terms of like writing the RFCs. And that's exactly why I'm telling that you can think of gray paper as a genesis, like at least how I envision this, right? Again, how this happens currently in Polkadot and how this happens currently in Ethereum. And I'm sorry I'm bringing parallels with Ethereum, but there are so many parallels, right? We have gray paper, yellow paper, both of them are written by the
Well, they talk
launchers.
about it at the beginning of the gray paper. So it's
Yes,
like,
yes, so it's fine.
They
I guess
invited
it's
this.
fine. Yeah. So I see gray paper as a genesis block. And then all the RFCs, the new RFCs for the new changes, which are being created by the fellowship, are the next blocks in building the networking the protocol, the gem protocol. If this answers your question, Ivan. That's exactly what I'm not sure. That's exactly, is like sometime, like if we need a faster iteration, it's probably just easier again to just follow the RFCs, creating new RFCs and not like making changes to the gray paper, because it's inherently more complicated to make updates to the paper than just like stack a RFC on top of it. Jimmy, you have your hand raised, and I see Sorab is not really agree with me.
You're thinking long-term thoughts, and I'm worried about our short-term jam execution. So I think we're just on two different planes.
Okay.
But yeah. So
Yeah, but I'm targeting to build a client, right, for a sustainable future, not for a prize, honestly.
okay, good job.
Well, I still want the prize, to be clear. But yeah, because it's, I mean, so yeah, there is it could, even if it's not fully what Carol's saying, like you could have it where every protocol update first has to go through the gray paper. Like that would obviously be slower, but that's a trade-off that could be made. But there also is, like, the paper, it depends on also what you define is part of the protocol and what makes you a useful participant in it, right? Like, because, for example, like something like RPCs and like the endpoints that you need to support will almost certainly not be included as part of the paper, right? But if you're running a node and you have a whole different suite of RPC methods than every other node in the network, it's like, okay, like you're not really conforming to the protocol at that point. Like, yes, it's not strictly the protocol, like as defined by the paper, but it is what the protocol is what people are running and like participating in at the end of the day, right? So there will be things that exist, like even at the business logic level of the blockchain that won't be specified in the gray paper that we will just need to conform on. And like, I think that's good. That's not a bad thing. And it's like, we want to find the balance of like, obviously we all want the prize, right? But it's like if the prize gets in the way, this is more of just, and not overly useful, just an opinion, but I'm throwing it out there anyway. If the prize is getting in the way of teams actually having like true good collaboration, it's like probably hurting more than it's like a blockchain system is not very useful with a bunch of like useful for security initially to build in isolation. But if the end goal is just to have a bunch of teams that don't talk to each other or collaborate, and like there's no such thing as like we have a gray paper, but all that is an attempt to get us to standardize on what the protocol is, right? Like the gray paper isn't running any code. Like the blockchain is what all the clients decide to build and what they implement. And like we can't get around that collaboration is like inherently like important. And so like, yes, we need to maintain the rules. I'm not at all saying that we shouldn't, but I don't like, it'd be a bummer if the prize distracts from the idea that collaboration is like really key to Jam success.
Absolutely. I mean, so I'm really amazed that all of you are thinking such long-term thoughts. The key word that I think we should all rally around, which is consistent with what you said, is anti-fragile. You know, you can't be anti-fragile if you don't collaborate. So the end goal is to be anti-fragile. So you do need collaboration, but you don't want collusion to the level that threatens the anti-fragile properties. So I think if you have the heart on always doing the wrong thing, doing the right thing as opposed to the wrong thing on the anti-fragility goal, we'll be in a good spot. So when I see Gav mention, you know, like the constraints that he would impose on us, it's always with the intention of having to winning the anti-fragility goal. And I don't think he's saying do not collaborate, do not you know, do not talk to anybody. You know, he welcomes it, but he does it with a but you should avoid doing this and that. And that's what strikes fear into many of our minds. And that's where we have to strike the balance between you know, what is the big picture goal. And I think if you all think what the big picture had in mind, as opposed to what does it take to conform to the rules exactly, then we'll collectively be in the right spot of what we really aim to do, which is to have trustless supercomputing together. Can we move on to our next topic?
Yeah, I guess so. We have 8 minutes left. So our next topic was Lisbon event preparation, which we already talked a little bit, I assume, or anyone else. I mean, Oliver is not here. Oh, sorry, Daniel. So, and I don't know much about the event, so there is no agenda or schedule, honestly.
Is anybody giving a demonstration? Daniel made a call for helping out at some booth type situation, and I said, hey, can we get Doom or Quake or something like that so that we could, and I don't know whether anything happened. Is anybody manning a booth somewhere that we should try to rally around after the little get together?
Part of our team will be hacking and at Denver. So, and I know that Jimmy is gonna like be around maybe to help a little bit, but
Yeah, it can certainly help. I won't have that. Well, I hope I have the demo ready, but probably won't, most likely. But I'll be around.
So I guess since Daniel's not here, I don't think we can talk too much about how to do anything specifically on a schedule. So hopefully Daniel will post some, here's what the schedule is and here's how we can fit into XYZ schedule. But for anybody who does want in a public way to connect dots on quick and like, can we get to network this versus that? I'm ready to work with whoever is showing up there. For the people that would be natural for me to try to work with are the people who got 6.4 import blocks. So we get to the end goal of like, yeah, we I can import your blocks via quick, via CE 128 or whatnot. So I'm hoping at least some of us will not just talk and drink and party or dance dance as much and just get busy with whatever we need to want to accomplish in terms of a little bit of team interactions in a networking centric way. Are there other people who are ready to do test network, or is it just me?
Jimmy, we are ready to some extent.
I'm still working on this 6.4 conformance. I don't have the full they're not all passing yet, but it's in progress. And then I need to do some networking. But we're getting closer. Getting closer.
Boy, are you ready? I think you got I think you got to the end point with a bunch of delete on delete stuff. Or do you have network?
Yeah, so I'm actually now working on implementing networking, but in Zig is a very new language, so a lot of stuff is just like I have to build from scratch. So it's gonna be kind of a challenge, but I got the server and the client, the connecting and quick. But I'm now actually finishing off what I call this the first protocols, right? But I'm investing some time in a good structure so I can implement all the protocols. But your remark was good, Saurabh, right? So need the ticketing, right? The ticketing, the blocks, right? Yeah, and then actually let's say so let me buckle up and try implementing it. Is your team already? Do you have the whole networking done? Let's say to a degree that you can connect and set the tickets and everything. Yeah.
Just between ourselves, we tried connecting with Jason, and we realized we had to fix some SAN. We had to lowercase some SAN stuff, which is some little detail somewhere within connection setups, and then we realized that we needed to handle more than one block in outputting some CE 128 response. So that was like a data of like, oh yeah, one more thing. But as far as everything else, I think the natural things that we could try to do, and it doesn't have to happen at Lisbon, but if we're not ready yet, is to make sure that we can receive tickets, that we can send tickets between two teams, and that you can at least get to fallback or Safrole. So if it's too ambitious, as far as I can tell, to do work package refining, for better or worse. But at the very least, you can say, hey, we can send each other tickets, which is only one of the extrinsics, and receive them and validate them, and the various fallback and Safrole data sets that as far as we know are 6.4 compliant. That they are good enough to go straight into the networking part for not all the CEs, but just a critical, maybe I think 4 or 5 of them, and then that'll establish a good foundation for everyone to do the really hard work of refining and availability specifiers and so on. which is a whole level, whole other level. So I think it would be awesome to have as many as half dozen or a dozen teams getting to set fallback and SAF role level tiny testnet compatibility in real networking environments. And then it turns out that the other stuff is a lot harder and needs a lot more test vector compatibility as far as our experience goes.
So would you let's say is cross-client validate, let's say cross-client communication, right? Is that allowed with the rules? Let's say it's not a because
you and I can all, or everyone can read Gav's
exactly.
He will
It's
be there
tricky,
as far giving a demonstration of the toasters. So I think whoever can't come will be missing out a lot.
Exactly, but we can ask explicitly, right, in the channel. Let's ask explicitly if it's possible. Because if that's not collusion, we could also do it publicly a little bit earlier, right? Because I think like say in 1 or 2 weeks I would be ready for that. So yeah, let's ask. I think that's the only way, really, right?
Let's ask in person. I think what he said on the Let's Jam channel was we might as well wait until 0.7, which is, as far as I'm concerned, imminent. But maybe it's more than a month. I actually have no idea. But I mean, I don't think that it hurts to just wait until Lisbon and then for us to honor the 0.7 kind of shelling point that he established, and for sure try to do what we can in person in Lisbon for the 2 or 3 days that we're there together. I don't think it's helpful for us to just do something in the next 2.5 weeks without his exact advisements in person, or it's too risky for us anyway.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do that.
So I guess we're just in time, finished with our agenda, right? Any last questions? Yeah. From anyone?
What room should we use to chat about Lisbon stuff? I'm a little lost myself, having set up some of the rooms with you or without you. Can we just pick which one we're going to talk Lisbon type thoughts on it? Or are we going to do it all in Let's Jam, or in the implementers room, or in the Discord channel? Because there's three different places.
I honestly don't want to spam Let's Jam also, because it's a lot of technical questions. I guess we can do this in Jam implementers room, right? And Element. Rather, we need to let everybody know that there are discussions about it happening there. So we need to put additional effort to make sure that everybody within the Let's Jam channel saw this, so it is completely inclusive.
Okay, so let's do it in the implementers room, and we'll expect a recording of this afterwards. Thank you very much for organizing this and setting up the Discord channel for all of us. Hopefully we'll continue to have fun in all different places, in person and online.
Cool. See you all, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, guys. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.